Hello, welcome to the Bali Effect. This is Priti Tana.
And
Bali
this
Effect
is,
Quickie. It's a quickies. I think by the eighth video.
it's fine. That's what it is. Who are you again?
Priti Tana.
And I'm Dee Dee Perry, and this is the Bali Effect, where we explore life's pivotal moments. And on today's Bali Effect Quickie, Preeti, what are we going to talk about? What's on your mind?
What's on my mind is staying connected to people, new people, old people during this pandemic. And I know that we all are talking about the pandemic and it comes up. And sometimes they even say to you, Dee Dee, I don't want to talk about the pandemic anymore. I just want to talk about something else. But the relationship thing, and I'll put that in air quotes, any relationship thing, all of our relationships have changed, right? If only by distance. But for those of us that are in relationships, maybe you're with that person, maybe there is a distance that occurred for other factors. And for those of us that aren't in relationships, I don't know, this topic is vast, but I feel as though there are different rules now during this time. Different rules, and I wanted to ask you, like, do you think we are more forgiving during this time? Should we be more forgiving? Are all the rules the same, whether it's a relationship with your parents or your significant other or your children? Or have we now, 10 weeks into this, developed new ways to navigate relationships?
Man, I feel like I'm just getting started. Do you want to know if I'm more forgiving, or do you want to
Yeah,
know if I think that as a general proposition we ought to be more forgiving?
I think
Uh,
have you noticed, in your relationships or even work relationships or friendships, have you noticed a little bit of ease between or forgiveness that wasn't there before? Or have you noticed status quo, or is it worse, less forgiving?
you know, that's a tough one. It really is depending on the person for me,
Hmm.
because some people, I think, are very, very, very gracious. Like everything, you just got to see through the eyes of grace and recognize nobody has any prior experience in how to cope with any of this. And there's so many different things that so many people are coping with, me included. And so it's like, don't even worry about it. It's all good. We are good, and everything is excused. However, at the same time, there's some folks who are the lines in the sand, I think, are getting drawn even um, more definitively as a result of this. And I've certainly felt the urge to do a bit of that. So in ways I can relate to it. For example, have you found yourself, okay, it's now clear everybody's in a pandemic. Everybody knows that everybody else is in a pandemic. You know what I mean? Like there's no
Hmm.
more rock that you can hide under. Are
Hmm.
there certain people that you thought you would have heard from that you have not? And conversely, people that you might not have expected to hear from that you have heard from, and
I
how have you
think,
felt about either?
yeah, I think in the beginning, so I'll put the beginning as a couple weeks. I definitely had like the list of people that I thought I'd hear from, that like, hey, they
Mm-hmm.
know I'm in New York City. Why haven't they said anything? I had a few of, oh, hey, what's going on? I haven't heard from you for a long time. I think where I netted out though was actually, it's sort of like the curve, It's like, in the beginning it was all like, oh God, there's people that are that I haven't heard from, and there's people that are talking to me that I haven't spoken to in years, and like, where's this one? But this one's here. And then what happened is it sort of flattened. And I hate to use that analogy, but it sort of adjusted back, you know, to normal. It's like Jello settling, you know? And what I think about it now is the same people that I was talking to before, you know, that I would, and talking to, let's just use 2020. I won't go into, but the same people that I was consistently speaking to are the same people that I'm talking to now. And the people that I haven't spoken to, I haven't heard from. And so I think that that's, you know, even with my family, you know, when this started, we did FaceTime calls every single night. By the way, in real life, prior to pandemic, I would say there were maybe 4 times a year that the entire family was together. You know, my sister, my brother, myself, and their kids. Yet here we were doing this daily FaceTime call. And in the beginning, it's great. But what ended up happening? The same thing. You know, my brother doesn't join. My sister and I still do it mostly every night. And so I think, look, I'm sure there are people that will say, oh, I heard from this one and I heard from this one. But I think you just settle into where you were. And I bet maturity and age has something to do with it too. I bet people in like, you know, maybe mid 30s into 40s would say what I'm saying. You know, it's just, we ended up in the same place. I think maybe younger, there's more of a propensity to reach out. I don't know. I mean, but that's what I found. Like, still talking to my posse all the time. Well, with a few sprinkled of like, oh, hey, how's it going every now and then.
Did you reach out to any long losters or anything just to see, like, are you still alive? Is this thing on? You know what I mean? Like, still got a pulse? Just checking. Okay, go back to our social distancing. That has nothing to do with the pandemic.
Right. I was just going to ask you that question. I'll be perfectly candid, and I can't believe I'm sort of sharing this. I think there's a group of people that maybe I'll put in like the people that I simply adore and think are great people that I've had sort of dated or had relationships with that I've thought about. And I think that's natural. I have not reached out to any of them for the same reason why I wouldn't do it non-pandemic. You know, there's a reason why that we sort of left it where we did. And I don't think there's any point in sort of revisiting some of those things, even though I adore them and I'm curious on how they're doing. You know, maybe if whoever's on social media, I make sure that they're still, you know, doing their thing, and that's okay. So that's one group of people. But in all honesty, I haven't. And that's some I've reached out to and asked how they're doing. But that's what I mean. I think it sort of came back to the people that were in my life, that you know, my circle that I prefer is smaller. Like, I just sort of wanted to make sure. So I think a lot of my energy was going to the people that I had already had those moments with. So I haven't. I don't know. And I feel like I'm trying to justify that, but I didn't reach out to anyone. Did you?
To the folks that I had dated, no.
Right.
Yeah. And they're good. And that's all that needs to be done there. But that's more reflection on the way that things parted than it is about me trying to, you know, hold on to anything negative. There just is not a need. In terms of, you know, there are like relatives that I had not, you know, cousins and stuff that I had not reached out to in a long, long time. Those, yes, I did, especially
family for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Certain friendships that have just grown apart over the years, I think at the most there was some texting at the beginning, like literally just like pulse check.
Yeah.
And then after that, okay, this pandemic is not going to rewrite history. There was a reason why things went the way that they went. I, however, do certainly wish you well. And if anything, the focus on the here and now and on just how to get from day to day to day takes up so much of my mental space, which is limited on a good day, that no, we don't have to do all that. But it has made me a lot more grateful for the people who I am doubling down on, because I do feel a lot more connected to a lot of the people that I already was tight with,
Yeah.
but we are really feeding each other and feeding off of each other in wonderful ways. So I can't say enough things, like great things about the weekly Zoom call that I have with my friends from high school, which we were not doing before this
Hmm.
happened.
Hmm.
But it's really beautiful. It's uncomplicated. And even, and there was no, like, nothing but grace. It's like, haven't talked to you in 10 years. How are you doing? Like, none of the,
Yeah.
like, where have you been? None of that. None of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I'm measured too in my, dispensing of grace and whatnot. But I'm trying to not hold anything against anybody at all. Like, there just isn't time for that right now.
Even yourself. There was one exception to what I just said. There was one exception. I
Speak on
forgot
it.
about it.
Speak
There
on
was
it.
one exception. I don't think we have to speak on it too much, but there was, I celebrated a birthday relatively soon after the pandemic. And so through that, there was an opportunity to sort of reconnect with or sort of establish a connection again with somebody that I had lost with. And I thought that was, and it was somebody that I truly adore and think is, super important and lovely. And so that was great. But again, I think that it still goes back to the sort of relationship you had before, and whether or not it was an individual or part of a group. This person was part of a group, so there was more of a energetic pull around that.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the term that you use, doubling down, because that really is what it is. You are sort of making that extra effort to connect with somebody
Mm-hmm.
that you already had that connection with. Do you think that do you think differently about the people that haven't reached out? Is there some sort of, you didn't even reach out during the pandemic. Like, we are definitely done. Were we ever friends?
You know what? I honestly think that I spent some good time before any of this, like years ago, weeding the garden.
Mm, yep.
So I actually have not had that many surprises, um, in the sense of, I really thought I would have heard from blah, 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 because just the other day, he said he was my best friend. So that I haven't experienced that. Um, and, but, I'm struggling with this so much. I'm struggling with this adjustment to this new reality so much. I'm not holding it against anybody. I really am not. I'll tell you what I am struggling with. I'm struggling with people who aren't giving me the same um, leniency. Um, I think it's unrealistic to expect perfect behavior from folks when they are coping with high levels of anxiety, which from day to given day, I definitely was when I couldn't breathe at night, or I'm struggling to keep my temperature down. It's just like the sky is falling. So I'm just like, it's cool. It's cool. Are you good right now? Like, let's focus on the here and now. Um, but at the same time, I can also say that uh, it is definitely testing my understanding of unconditional love, um, reacting to other people's behavior that is, I truly up here recognize it's in response to the anxiety and the fear and the stress of all this. But when it comes out as just negative behavior or harmful behavior in some way emotionally, it's still hard not to take personally. So that is work that I am still doing. I haven't gotten a full grip on it, but um, trying to keep that perspective of this person who just screamed bloody murder at you, because you hiccuped in the grocery aisle. that probably wasn't because you were, threatening their life. But still, it's like, but damn, is that all necessary? So, I use that as an anecdote, but still, I've experienced some of that in my relationships, and it's tough. It's tough, Still getting the hang of this thing.
Yeah, I don't know that we have the answers. I do know one thing though, and it's um, not taking things personally. It's always about, communication. We talked about this on the last quickie,
Mhm.
how effective are you communicating through conflict? And but I think the relationship thing and sort of staying connected is really important,
Yeah.
especially now.
Oh my
And
God. Than ever.
and and I often sometimes sometimes I often
Just go with it. I give you a grace.
sometimes um disconnect if I don't feel the other person's connecting, or I sort of wait for that. And it doesn't matter what area of life that's in, but oh, I do want to talk to this person, but I'm just going to see if they connect first.
Mm,
And so one of the things that I would love to tell everybody, is that just if you feel like connecting with somebody, I think you should. And
yes.
and you don't have to stay connected, and you don't have to, keep going down a path of, deeper and deeper meaningful connection. But if there's even that initial connection right now to anyone, or just checking in on them, if you're thinking about them, and if you've been thinking, I'll give you, if you've thought about it for more than 3 days, I think you should do it. How about that?
You know,
Fleeting
I,
th- fleeting thoughts aside, 3 days or more.
but I actually, I completely wholeheartedly agree. That is one thing that I have been trying to practice. If they come to my mind, just hit them up. Just hit them up, because you don't know what they might be feeling right now. And what I think I have seen pretty much across the board, everybody appreciates that phone call, that text message, that card randomly. So if they come across your mind, just do them the spiritual solid of, hey, you were on my mind today. How are you? My line that I've been using, how are you faring? Because I don't really like how are you. To me, it's, you don't really know if people really want the answer, if that's just the thing that, naturally
Right.
proverbially comes after hello.
Right.
But how are you faring? How are you keeping in all of this? And so I think that, if there were a couple of takeaways, um, with so much of the world seemingly spinning out of control, what I realize, there are no rules. I mean, there are some, like, don't drive through a red light. But there are so many other rules when it comes to how, we are to keep on going and keep our spirits high, um, that can just, yeah, toss them away. If you're thinking about them, reach out. um, no limitations, whether it's someone you've spoken to, not in decades, or whatever. I was so happy to get a phone call from somebody that I had not connected with in like 12 or 13 years, but it was as if we had just talked a week ago. It was great. And it's just, I heard that you weren't doing well. How are you? Oh my God, are you okay? That made my whole, like, month. And so, and yeah, she would have been perfectly justified to not do that. But the fact that she did meant the world to me. So, we can, like, be joy ambassadors. Just spread it around. Just spread it around. I think, we're both spiritual people. If that inspiration comes to you, it might be coming from a bigger place that is rooted in love. So just spread it, disperse it.
Spread it, talk to them.
Yeah, share it.
Stay connected, people.
Stay
Stay
connected. Yeah,
connected.
don't let it get you down. Don't let it get you down. And isolation can be a wonderful place to reflect and to recharge. And it also can be a place where, the negativity can marinate longer than it needs to. So, you know, stay connected to people.
And I will say, the podcast. So if you haven't checked out the Bali Effect podcast, make sure you check it out. You can see it down below on the YouTube page where you can get the podcast. But that's also been super fun because it gives us an opportunity every week to connect with people that we may or may not know, reconnect and spend more time with people that we know. So I found that to be a joyous part of the week where it's like, we're going to, you know, there's going to be a party Friday night.
At least someone will talk to me. Priti and someone else. So I don't crack up too much in this cave. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So stay connected. And I would say take nothing personally, because you know what, if it truly is personal, handle it after the pandemic passes. Because but for now, let everybody get a pass. What's the third one, Priti? Maybe a third takeaway.
I would say be kind to yourself.
Yeah,
you know, kind of, and it comes up a lot, but you know, it's okay whatever you feel like doing.
Yeah.
You know, it's okay to reach out to somebody that you haven't talked to. It's part of staying connected, but it's okay to feel just sort of stay connected to yourself, you know, and what your needs are and what you desire and look forward to, and you know, all those things.
Yeah, and I think the more you tap into, you know, I think that's an excellent point. The more you tap into yourself and what you need, your soul will be guided to who it is that you probably will benefit from reaching out to, or who will benefit from you reaching out to them. And and forgive everything quickly, easily, and keep it moving. It gets so much easier with practice, truly. I've learned that one from experience.
I also just want to say, like, I feel as though, you know, we're saying all these good things. We should have another quickie about how sometimes we are not forgiving, and sometimes we're like, whatever, but not on this one. This one, stay connected to everybody, stay connected to yourself, and forgive. Those are three sort of guys?
Yes. Yeah, forgive it, because at the end of the day, the joke's on you when you don't forgive. But that's for the next one.
Until then, see y'all later.
Bye, you guys. Check out the Bali Effect. We love you for watching. Mwah!
She does. So do I. Bye.